Hi, hello, how are you? Welcome back to the Midnight Spaceship. It is again in your neighborhood, like an ice cream truck. You can hear the music playing, and something you like is just around the corner. Hello, I'm Slade Ham. I'm your host. This is my show, The Slade Ham Experiment. I've been on sabbatical. Is that a word? Can you take a sabbatical from a not job? Because I did. I took a break. I went to South America. We'll probably talk about that a little bit. But this is my year-end wrap-up, if you will. This might get a little weird. I just did a buddy of mine's podcast earlier this week. Got me thinking about a lot of these thoughts. They started to congeal a little bit, and now here I am, having thought about them some more. And this may be the most honest episode I've ever done. Because this year has simultaneously, you know how I'm always talking about things depending on what you put the brackets around. Things are what they are, depending on what you decide they are. This is my year. Because on one hand, I have never in my entire professional career been on stage less than I was in 2023. I had less shows than I've ever done before. I made less money than I've ever done before. It was also the least number of countries I've ever stood on stage on in the last 15 years. On top of that, I also spent more money than I've ever spent in a year. And all of those things, coupled with the fact that I have seen very good friends of mine reach different levels of success over the year, including Andy Huggins and Jerry Wayne Longmire. Now, I could take all of that and say to myself, well, self, you haven't done a bunch of shit this year. But then I wiggle the little brackets around, I maneuver some things around. Doesn't make any of those things less true. But as I revisit last year and I look at the things I was talking about at the end of the year, things that were just ideas. I wanted to travel more, but not for work. I wanted a comedy special. I wanted all sorts of stuff. Have all come to fruition. I spent March in Japan, 2 blissful weeks there. I did lead a tour into Africa, knocked off a new country in Kenya. And then I just did 2 weeks in Patagonia, climbing some mountains that I thought were out of my area of physical capability. And I made a comedy special, which is really going to be the focal point here. And we got distribution for the Andy Huggins comedy special. So, and I get to look at the fact that the last 2 comedy specials I produced, both the comics now, over 100,000 plus on social media. That's pretty cool, right? For some stuff I just sort of directed. Now, the way we got here, it's if I hadn't written all of this down all along the way, I don't know that I could recall it the way it really happened. Because the truth is, every last bit of it is deliberate. I knew at the end of last year when I was making that episode, talking about my 2022 and what had gone right and what had gone wrong, things have been needling at me for a long time about how I do what I do as a stand-up comic. What it means to be a stand-up comic for 23 years. It's a long time. That's a quarter of a century that I've been doing this. One job, paying my bills, solo, just me versus the world. But the question becomes how long, not just how long can you keep that up, but how long should you? Because I've been reaching this crossroads in my career for the last couple of years. Definitely right around 2019, I can tell you, when I started to feel the first jabby pains of uncomfortableness. Coming back, in fact, from an AFE tour. I had been overseas with Armed Forces Entertainment, and the parts of it had not gone as well as they should from a logistics standpoint. And then there were some other unnerving sorts of sensations that bubbled their way up, all of which I started to take heed of. And then I started to listen to myself as I started to try to book dates, and I was trying to hustle my friends for clubs I might be able to get into and asking for advice or asking for help. You know, things that were out of my comfort zone, but necessary because of where I was in the game. Clubs were closing. I wasn't getting any new ones. Nobody's banging on the door offering me the comedy special. The thing that you tell yourself, if you just stay in the game long enough, they find you. That's the myth. If you're an artist, we tell ourselves all sorts of things. Hey, man, if you just don't give up, eventually it happens. Well, you got to do some other stuff. Because the lottery tickets that everybody's after, I don't think I want to be after anymore. I don't think I want to play the same game. And that's what this year has been about. This year has been about a redefinition of what stand-up comedy means for me. What it's always meant was how many shows can I get? If I'm working 200 nights a year, if I'm on 200 different stages a year, or 100, or whatever it may be, then I'm a stand-up comic. It really doesn't matter how little they pay me or how much I bring home. As long as it's enough, I'm a stand-up comic. And I suppose that's true. There's plenty of room for all of us to do that. But that kind of stand-up comedy for me is a slog. To make the kind of money that really would keep you happy as an adult human being, you got to eat some guff in the stand-up game. And I'm not much of a guff eater. It's never sat that well with me. Now, I pay taxes on stuff. Things cost things in that regard. Tell you about the long trip home from South America. That was an event. But you know what? That's the cost of going to the end of the world. I've also paid several of those costs on overseas tours because there were things I wanted to see and places I wanted to go. The only way to get there was uncomfortable. But when you're just trying to make a living at this and you need a week of work, so you say yes to something and say Tampa, it's not like you just go in like some superstar. They take care of you, and every night you're the rock star, and then you go back to your wonderful hotel room. Some nights you stay in these terrible condos, and the club owners are drunks, and they're arrogant, and they miss the good old days when they used to do comedy, so they got to take it out on every comic who comes through the club. And they're abusive, not just to the comics, but to their staff as well. And you got to go spend 5 nights just kissing their ass. You got to listen to their stupid stories, watch them do magic tricks. They're doing shots. I don't even really drink anymore. They're shoving stuff in your hand. Anything to make you look or feel as bad as they do on the inside. And man, it's in 1 or 2 dudes. I'm singling out that Bobby Jewel cat who used to run Tampa. That's one of a million. Every club has some version of some failed comic who now makes comics' lives hell just staying adjacent to the game. That's the whole, man, that's everything. You just at some point you decide you're better than that. That's where I'm at. I've slept in all the condos. I've paid every due. Pick it. I've done it 35,000 times. These 15-hour travel days to get to a cruise ship just to see these fat people from Beaumont wading through a buffet telling you last night was pretty funny, man. That's pretty funny. You gotta stick with this, man. I like your little skits, man. Hey, hey, hey. I'd rather starve to death, bruh. So, rather than define myself as comedian the way I've been and looking for as many gigs as I can to validate it, all of which add up to nothing, by the way. Doesn't matter how many you do. They're just faceless. Nobody's there for you. They're there for the club. They're there for the 2-drink minimum. This is all sounds cynical and pessimistic, but it's the root reality to playing comedy clubs. Now you reach a certain level where you're selling tickets, then the comedy clubs matter again because you can go in on an off night, scoop up all the money and bounce. You don't have to deal with anybody's bullshit at all. That is the world I'm trying to create. So, the comedy special. If I can put one of these out every 2 years, then I can. You know, I know this because there's no end to what's happening up here. I got Signal Noise done. We're going to review it right after the 1st of January with all my Kickstarter people. We're going to figure out distribution. It's going to come out one way or another. It's the best thing I've ever done. I'm very proud of it. I'm just ready to get it out there. Don't really care how it happens. You know why? Because I got the second one already in the hip pocket. January 10th, I'm going to be at the Improv. Brand new hour. I don't know if it's all good. Most of it's probably not good. But it's new and it's comedy and I wrote it and I'm not stupid. So I can sustain this level of output. And what I've realized is this level of output, this is the kicker, this is the part that it all hinges on, is in no way dependent on anything other than me. It's because you think, this is the part that I just have to accept is what it is, right? There's a social media game that must be played. There is YouTube and Instagram. You got to post this stuff on there because that's where the people are. I can fight it. I can argue it. I can spend my whole year bucking it. But the truth is, if you want people to know what you're doing, you got to go where the people are. That's where the people are. So this special shoved into that river is inevitably going to do a certain number of things. But what I do know is it's going to be more than enough to catalyze the next special. That's all I care about. The body of work. Everything else handles itself. And this is where I realize me and my friends, the people I've known in my career all the way up, are playing a different game. And that's what I've been struggling with this whole last maybe 2 or 3 years. Trying to put that emotion into some sort of feeling and into some sort of words. And that's what it's come down to. I realized, man, that me and all the dudes I came up with split somewhere along the way. They're all doing well. They're all making money. I see some of them posting from France, some of them on the Italian coast, some of them out in the Caribbean. So they're all over the place. They're making money. They're doing well. They're posting their airport clips. They're posting their stand-up when they play the clubs. They're doing all the stuff right. Yet we're playing two different games. I don't want to do the same stuff over and over and never capture it along the way. I want snapshots of my career as I improve and progress. So changing the game and redefining the word comedian has been a big one for me. I'm a dude who makes specials now. I'm sorry, open mics. I don't kick it like that. I can do this differently. So I'm excited about that and where else things are going. It's also, as I look into next year, because that's ultimately what this is about, right? Me staking some sort of claim, planting a flag in what I intend to pull off next year. The biggest one, release the special, make it sing. I know what I'm doing. But then what? Work on the second one. I need 5 or 10 markets that I can really build a following in. I don't know which markets they're going to be. If you're out there and you want to be one, let me know, because I'm coming after some things. Now, one of the things I learned, I wish I'd known when I was younger. Someone should have told me. Because I thought I had to plan my life out in my 20s. Thank God I didn't. I was too stupid to do it then. But your 20s, man, if you're in your 20s, you're listening, listen to me. Go do everything. Everything there is to do. Say yes to everything. If it's an experience you haven't experienced, thumb up it. Thumbs up it. Thumb it up. Put your thumb in it. Whatever that, do it. There's an immense amount of power in loading up your backpack in your 20s. Do everything you can, because by the time you get to your 30s, you're going to want to pick a couple of those things. You should have tasted enough, seen enough, done enough, been enough, all of it, enough to go, you know what? I want some more of that and a lot less of that over there. You should have enough data to help yourself make a decision. Not just one decision, but like 3 or 4 decisions. What are the things I dig? And then spend your 30s digging a little bit deeper into those things. And then dig a lot deeper. Till by the end of your 30s, you really have wrapped your brain significantly around 2 or 3 things, and really well. You understand them deeply. And by your 40s, you should look at those couple of things you understand deeply. If you're lucky, you got 2, maybe 3, maybe 4. I don't know who you are. Maybe you picked up a language. Maybe you got your master's degree. Maybe you followed that up with a secondary degree. Maybe your hobby led you to an art that you really excel at. Maybe you've written through the whole process and become quite the adept journalist. There's a lot of things you could have picked up if you spent your 20s and 30s properly. And then, by the time you get to your 40s, you should be able to throw those couple of things on a table and see where they overlap. See what your mastery of a couple of different things yields when you shuffle them. Like cards. What happens then? What if we play them in this order? What if I combine these two? Sort of the me where I'm sitting with stand-up comedy and writing and filmmaking, some of the other things I picked up. Trying to figure out what they make when I put them together. And I feel bad because some of my friends never got more than one thing. You know, they just sort of stuck with it. And that's what I think scared me the most. I was going to be this dude who only had one skill. There was only one way to go from here. So all of this year has been me trying to reconcile all of that in my head. That's why I went to Patagonia. A couple of reasons. One, I said yes because I'm doing a better job of saying yes in advance to big things. Things I know I won't say yes to. When it comes time, I'll talk myself out of them. So the other reason, though, let me tell you the part of Patagonia I visited. If you go down to Chile, and you from Santiago, which is about middle of the whole top part of Chile, looks like a green bean, a little long, thin green bean. Top half, it's like the Atacama Desert. It's a whole different biome. But Santiago on down, eventually you get to Port Montt, which is this little bitty tiny place. And from there, all the way down to, I think, Fort O'Higgins or something, Via O'Higgins, down at the bottom of Chile, runs the Carretera Austral, Route 7. It's, think Route 66, but beautiful. And it winds its way through mountain passes, gravel roads, lakesides. These huge granite spires shoot up into the sky. There's wildflowers everywhere. These raging rivers running off to either side of the car. This goes on for hundreds of kilometers through Chile. And then you can dogleg into Argentina, into the vast nothingness. Nothing. It echoes. Nothing. Just desert all through Argentina. Llamas and emus running around. I'm not making that up. Flamingos? Wow, flamingos? Get out of here. And in El Chalten in Argentina, it's Mount Fitzroy. And Fitzroy was the captain of the Beagle, and the Beagle was the ship that had Charles Darwin on it. That all aside, there's a mountain named after him from their little trip down the tip, around the corner of Chile and Tierra del Fuego, and it's an MFer of a mountain. And to climb it, you gotta. So you can do it a couple of ways. You could day trip it. You could just go in, do a 12-hour day. I'm not trying to prove nothing. So the best way, you put your backpack on, you hike in 3 or 4 hours with all your stuff, 25, 30 pounds. Hike in, set up camp for the night, and then at 3:30 in the morning, you wake up, put your boots on, gear up, get everything ready. It's cold. It's a little rainy. It's like 28 degrees outside. And you start to hike in the dark up the mountain. And you'll see little headlamps, people. And it's really intimidating because during the day, man, you can hike and you look up and it's just more mountain. But during the night, early morning, you look up and there's light. And it's like, oh, wait, those people are where I'm going. That's way up there. My legs aren't going to make this. That mountain versus me, because that's ultimately what it is. Doesn't matter if you're with somebody, not with somebody. You're with a big group, no group. You're the only person on the mountain. Doesn't matter. It's you and your legs. And they're either going or they're not. And whether or not they're going has a lot to do with what you're carrying around up here. And I'll be honest, if I hadn't, it was the same way with Fitzroy as it was with Torres de Paine down in Chile for the last hike. Both of them very intense, stair-steppy, uphill. The last one like 80 mile an hour winds blowing. I mean, it was. And the only way you do that is if you've done some stuff like that before. And you know the feeling of being up there, having successfully done it. And you know the pain attached to it. You know what it's going to cost to get up there. When you've run all that math and it's spit out a nice, dirty number at the end and you don't like it, but you know you got to do it. That's why I hike those mountains, man. To prove that it's still worth it to me to go the direction that not everybody else is going. I don't know. I don't know if anything I've done in 2023 is the right thing to do professionally at all. But I know it's all the right thing to have done personally. And it is completely changed the way I've defined success, not just for myself, but currently, but even the way I revisit the way I've talked about it in the past. I'm in a place now where I'm making stuff that I'm proud of and I'm working with people I dig. That's what's happening more of in 2024, I promise. I can say that now, more collaborations with filmmakers and people in comics I like. I want to tour this new show in 5 to 10 different markets minimum. I think that's very feasible. I want to learn some new storytelling tools. I don't know if that's going to be some art classes so I can learn to draw better than in ways that I can't right now. Maybe it's some creative writing courses because I want to up my fiction game. I have a whole world rattling around in here that I want to put out and I want to play with. Not put out, but I want to play with. And I have this whole comedy special, this new one. And the old it hadn't even come out and I'm already past it. I want to take all of this and turn it into some mailbox money so that I can just keep my head above water while I make more cool things. It's an amazing prospect to be thinking about things this way in such a liberating manner. So next year is going to be good. I'm going to leave you with something from a fantastic book. I guarantee you I have 3 copies of it sitting over there because I give them away a lot. I should give one to a listener. There's a poet, Rilke, if you don't know. I'm not going to do a whole background on all this. I just want to do the quote. But this is from Letters to a Young Poet. And it's a fantastic back and forth between the poet Rilke and a young poet who's asking for advice, because I guess you could just mail people back then and they'd respond. You had to go through their Facebook page Did you, young buck? Roke gives this advice on friends, something that has brought me great peace through the year, this year in particular, and something I'm trying to remember going further. Here we go. Therefore, dear sir, love your solitude and try to sing out with the pain it causes you. For those who are near are far away, you write, and this shows that the space around you is beginning to grow vast. And if what is near you is far away, then your vastness is already among the stars and is very great. I realize some of this reads like biblical verses, but it's the soundest writing you'll ever read. Be happy about your growth, in which, of course, you can't take anyone with you. And be gentle to those who stay behind. Are you listening? Be confident and calm in front of them, and don't torment them with your doubts, and don't frighten them with your faith or joy, which they wouldn't be able to comprehend. Seek out some simple, this is the meat of it right here. Seek out some simple and true feeling of what you have in common with them, which doesn't necessarily have to alter when you yourself change again and again. When you see them, love life in a form that is not your own, and be indulgent towards those who are growing old, who are afraid of the aloneness you trust. Man, I could read Rilke forever. But take that with you. We grow, we move, we change. We're not the same things. These crossroads, man, have been plaguing me for the last few years. And it shouldn't. These people are still my friends. We're just doing different shit. And that's okay. They got their thing. I got my thing. We collab when we can. We meet when we can. We hang out when we can. And the rest of it, that's mine to deal with, right? Ain't nobody's fault. We're just going different directions. I don't know what happens in 2024, but you've heard most of the plan. Signal Noise will be out. I'll keep pecking away at this book. I'm taking it much more seriously as I turn into this new year, especially with the special out. And then I got to finish this new one. It's all exciting. It's all super exciting. I hope your new year, I don't know if I'm doing another one of these before the new year. I'm taking all the pressure off. I'm around when I'm around. We're going to keep commuting here. If you haven't clicked sub, do it. Lots more me, always around the corner, working on my thoughts, figuring things out, and hopefully helping you in the process. Sometimes it's cool to just listen to other people work theirs out. Cheers to you guys. I'll see you on the other side of whatever this may be. I'm going to close the door to the midnight spaceship, hang up my hammock, and I believe take a Christmas nap.